Welcome to Ode to Games. My name's Logan Plan, joined today by Kevin Valine. Hello, Kev.
How's it going, Logan?
It's going well. I have a premonition to tell you all about on this week's show, and also here to talk about it with us, Zach Rost. Hello, Zach.
Hello. I'm glad to have a psychic friend now.
It's
I've always
bizarre.
wanted one. Yeah.
So, a couple of weeks ago, I successfully predicted the Nintendo Direct that it would happen the next week. But this week, I had a prediction, a premonition that's even more wild than that, and it has to do with our biggest news story for the week. And of course, it is the less than thrilling news that Nintendo is shutting down support for the 3DS and Wii U eShop, officially closing down by the end of March 2023. But there is a rollout kind of removal of features that's going to happen starting this year, with both adding funds from credit cards, adding funds from Nintendo cards, and then eventually not being able to buy anything at all. But before we get into it, I just got to share. I had a dream on Tuesday night that Nintendo shut down the Wii U and 3DS eShops. I woke up Wednesday morning and I was like, that's probably going to happen pretty soon. And then it happened at 5 p.m. that same day. It's one of the more wild moments I've had. So listen to Ode to Games for some wild
We're going to talk about Logan's dreams. Be like, well, this week, Logan, what were your gaming dreams? They'll probably come true soon.
Yeah, so it was... Kevin and I were actually talking about this recently. I don't use social media very well. I'm not good at posting regularly. This was the one time where I'm like, man, I wish that I had posted that. I wish I'd woken up and posted, just had a dream that Nintendo shut down the Wii U and 3DS eShop. Because then it happened that day. But let's get into it. That's my premonition for the week. But yeah, this news is not super exciting. So this is from May 23rd of this year. You'll no longer be able to add money via a credit card on the 3DS store. From August 29th, you'll no longer be able to redeem point cards. Only download codes for games will work beyond that point, or whatever funds you have in the shop as well. And then from March 2023, you'll no longer be able to purchase any games. You'll still be able to re-download games, though, so any games or DLC that you already have purchased will still be re-downloadable. So that's the gist of it. We saw a similar thing with Sony and the PS3 and Vita stores last year, but after the Twitter outrage, they quickly reversed that decision. But I'm just going to tell you right now, I don't see that happening here with Nintendo, regardless of the outrage that comes of it. So, Kev, obviously disappointing news here. What's your take?
I hate it. I hated it when PlayStation did it. I'm glad they reversed that. I didn't like it when the Wii Virtual Console and shop shut down, and I don't like it here either. And as we get further and further along, before you would look back on those stores shutting down and be like, man, that sucks. You had like a lot of cool little experiences on there. But as we get further along, digital becomes a much more ingrained part of the console, where there are full-length games on there that can't be purchased anywhere else. 3DS has got a couple of Ace Attorney games and some other stuff that you just won't be able to access anymore, let alone all of the copies physically that are going to get incredibly expensive and already are. There are multiple Twitter threads out there that are advising people on what games to pick up digitally now that are already $100 or well over physically, and you can bet that those are going to keep going up. You know, it just sucks that some games are going to be either out of reach monetarily for most people legally, or not available whatsoever legally. And I found it really funny that on their original post, Nintendo had this question in the FAQ that was like, doesn't Nintendo have an obligation to provide all of these classic games to people as we move along into different generations? And they're just like, well, we have NSO. That's it. We have no other plans at this time. And it's just like, that's it? That's all it is? And they knew that wasn't great because they pulled that quite quickly. But, you know, it's really frustrating.
I want to chime in on that because I do agree that was really poor wording. I think that was a mistake to include that in the FAQ. But we have no plans at this time means absolutely nothing coming from them. They were asked in an interview a week before they announced the new 3DS, do you have another 3DS model in the works? And they said, we have no plans at this time. And yes, they do. A week later, there it is. So yeah, it's not the most, it doesn't give any confidence to the fans who want to be able to buy these games in other ways, especially when, no, not holding back at all, the offering on Switch for classic games is terrible. Nintendo Switch Online is awful. The rollout for games has been abysmal the last multiple years. We finally got Earthbound. I don't think it's a coincidence we got Earthbound the week before they announced they were shutting it down on the only other platforms where you could get it. But saying that we currently have no plans to offer classic content in other ways, surely they do. They're just not talking about it yet. Would it be nice if they talked about it right now in lieu of this news? Absolutely. But I think getting too hung up, like a lot of Twitter was on that specific wording, it was kind of burying the main story here for me.
Yeah, I guess there's a chance that they'll do it, but I don't find the odds very high. They seem dead set on NSO being the way of the future, and I think that they undermine their own service to an extent if they decide to backtrack and be like, all right, now we're doing virtual console. They could do it, but I have very little confidence that that will ever be a thing that they're going to do in the next 10 to 15 years at least. I feel like they are all in on NSO with with N64 coming out, all the expansion passes, new games trickling out. I kind of believe them, at least in the short term, that they really don't have too many any plans beyond we're going to keep on slowly adding more stuff to NSO or doing like a remake or something, which companies will do periodically. But that also,
this is a kick in the butt to make NSO better. Sorry, keep going, Kev.
But it also ignores the fact of just 3DS and Wii U games. Like, you get hung up on the virtual console, but at the very least, Switch has something on there. Like, you can play some of these games still. There's just a bunch of 3DS games that are going to get completely lost in the shuffle, Wii U as well, that are just going to vanish. And that sucks. That a lot of those games have almost no chances of getting released again. They're these small titles that were kind of stuck there, and now they're just going to disappear.
Specifically with the hardware, you got 3DS, which has two screens that aren't even the same size. The top screen is wider than the bottom screen. And then you've got the Wii U with the gamepad setup, which Nintendo could easily emulate if they were just like, hey, just hook up like your Switch Lite as the gamepad. Bonkers to me that hasn't been a feature yet, by the way. I'm just throwing that out there. But other than that, these are two of the hardest consoles to emulate the games for, just because of the nature of the hardware and what Nintendo was doing at the time. So yeah, it is sad to see that a lot of these games just aren't going to be accessible anymore. And then, yeah, like you were saying, Kev, the physical copies are going to skyrocket. I look at something like Xenoblade Chronicles X, a game that sold extremely poorly, that is only on Wii U, that Monolith and Nintendo have still not brought to Switch. We talked about it last week during our direct recap. That's just going to skyrocket. I saw one of them was the late Ace Attorney crossover was a tweet you sent us where it's like $90 to $150 on eBay.
Currently.
Man, yeah, right now, and that's only going to go up. The Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice, the other two Ace Attorney games, are on iOS and Android, so they're still going to be purchasable somewhere, just not on 3DS where they originally came out. But it's a bummer. I am at least happy that they gave some semblance of advance notice so you can go and grab some of the stuff you want digitally. That was the big thing with PlayStation. It was about to happen like right away. And another big part of that was there were people actively developing Vita games who were like, where am I going to sell this? So that's something, at least you have a year to buy games, a little less to add funds to your account that you want. But that at least is a good part of it. I think on the show, we don't have it together this week, but as we get closer to that date, we'll probably walk through some of the games that you should grab, that you should buy before this thing ends. So it's sad. It's sad for me as a diehard Wii U and 3DS fan to see support for these things ending. But yeah, Zach, we haven't heard from you yet. Do you have anything to say about this news?
Yeah, I generally agree with everything you guys have said, but like we talked about, hopefully this is the motivation that Nintendo needs to make a better NSO to roll out more games more frequently for those consoles. And now that the Virtual Console on the Wii U, which is going away, NSO is really all we'll have. And And now that I've recently started using my 3DS a lot more since I'm playing the Ace Attorney franchise, I picked those games up and I've been looking at other stuff, and I still have to buy the DLC for those games before that option goes away. So yeah, hopefully, if you're even remotely interested in picking something up digitally on 3DS, because at least we did get that advance notice, so people will be able to make those decisions. As a video game collector, it's gonna suck to see all these cool physical copies going up, up, and up. Yeah, so just see where this goes from here.
I also feel bad for the people that aren't really going to be able to pick up these games while they're actually available. Like I think about, SNES was before my time, and N64, I was, a baby basically when that was popping, but
Yeah.
I can still go back and, and find those games. They're getting a lot more expensive, of course, as are most games, but they're still hanging out around and you can pick them up. But for little kids now that maybe 5-10 years from now discover the 3DS and that library, and some of those games either are ridiculously prohibitively expensive or just gone, I just feel bad for them. And it's only going to get worse from here as digital becomes more ingrained. I'm hoping that companies will see that, and you have Microsoft being very gung-ho about backwards compatibility and having all of their games available to play, or most of them that they can, available on one system. I hope there's more integration with older consoles so that things carry over. But when we get to we've already got full digital consoles now, and I can just imagine, in 10 years, it's just a brick because the store's shut down, and it's like, well, I can only play the games that are attached to my account or downloaded. Like, it is, besides yourself, it is basically a brick, and I don't know, that's just crazy to me.
Which, with Game Pass, there's no games tied personally to my Xbox account that I own. So when that isn't the case, the Series S is going to be pretty useless down the road, for sure. And then I look at the Wii U and 3DS also. Yeah, they gave us time, but even people right now who have a wish list of games they want to grab just don't have the money.
Yeah.
Just can't justify spending a couple $100 maybe on all the titles that are on the wish lists across 2 platforms. It's just sad to see, and I understand why the companies want to do this with Sony and Nintendo. It costs a lot more money to maintain these stores probably than they are bringing in, especially the Wii U, which very few people own. It makes sense to shutter that store, but it does suck, and you do wish that they would just eat the costs because they're so profitable elsewhere and keep those stores up as long as they could.
Yeah, and you could offset some of that. Now that we have such a high attach rate for digital versions, you kind of cut out the middleman in a lot of cases. With retail. It'd be nice if they could funnel a little bit of that money that they save into keeping up these storefronts in some way, but they're going to optimize to make the most amount of money possible because they're publicly traded companies, and that's their goal, to make the most amount of money possible. And for them, this is just dead weight. Why are we putting more money into it when we have very few people purchasing games? And I understand that, but preservation's important, and not many of the companies really seem to care about it.
Yeah, and I look at something like just the libraries that they built across the 3DS and Wii U in preserving their legacy content. It has not been matched by really anything. Xbox is doing great now, but they don't have quite the legacy that Nintendo does to pull back from. You could play the entire Legend of Zelda series if you have a Wii U and 3DS. Literally everything, not some of the spin-offs, not every version of every game, but in some form, every mainline Zelda game is accessible on those 2 consoles. And that's just going away. Games like the Minish Cap or the Oracle games, which are extremely expensive physically, and this is the only place that they just aren't playable anymore. And then indie games too, like Affordable Space Adventures is a brilliant 2-player indie game where one person's on the gamepad kind of making sure that your rocket ship doesn't totally collapse, running between different rooms, maintaining the different systems, while the other person's on the TV screen actually piloting the ship through these really dangerous worlds. It's a phenomenal game that never came to anything else because it was that gamepad and TV screen integration. It's just gone. It's just not going to be purchasable anymore. Didn't get a physical copy. That is a game that I played on a friend's Wii U, and I'm like, I need to buy that. That's a game that I want to be able to go back to at some point. So F-Zero. I wouldn't have gotten into F-Zero if it weren't for the Wii U Virtual Console, where I played 3 of the 4 titles that I've played. It's just not... A lot of people just play what's new, play new games on the new system, but a lot of people go back to find other things. Especially Virtual Console games are cheap. They're like $6 or $7 to experience some of Nintendo's best games ever. And it's just really sad to see Virtual Console ending. Kevin and I were chatting before the show. This is it for Virtual Console. Since all that's left is Nintendo Switch Online. It's dead now, and it was phenomenal on those platforms.
There still are those little NES Classic and SNES Classic little console things that you own.
Plug and plays.
I don't think the libraries on those are crazy extensive, but I mean,
they're also like hundreds of dollars on eBay now. If you
they're expensive now?
They were, discontinued, so that you're just paying. Never
mind.
Paying secondhand.
Yeah,
could go and buy those, but
you guys know I love the Wii U. I also love the 3DS. They're like my two of my favorite Nintendo consoles, right there with the GameCube and the Switch will be the other ones that are my favorites. And so I'm already trying to make like a big Google Doc, like, man, what do I need to buy before this is done? And I'm sure a lot of people are doing the same. I fortunately went on this Wii U spending binge, like during the pandemic in 2020, where I picked up a lot of physical Wii U games I didn't have. And I was just scrolling eBay today, and I'm like, gosh, I'm glad I did that when I did, because some of this stuff now is already skyrocketing. But then there's some 3DS games that I wish I could get physically, but will probably never be the case. I look at the Luigi's Mansion remake, which is one of the hardest 3DS games to find.
One of those really late in the life cycle games.
A post-Switch 3DS game, just impossible to find physically when it came out, and now it's just exorbitantly expensive. So it's tough. It's tough. It's a tough pill to swallow. I'm pretty sad about it. It feels like the end of an era. Like the Wii U is officially going to be dead a year from now. And it's tough to believe. Even though it's been dead for 5 years. But it's
been dead since it came out.
Yeah. I still peruse the Wii U shop every so often. I still go on there and I see what's up, see what sales there are. I also wonder if there's going to be like a big fire sale.
I hope so. To give people at least one last chance, because I've got a couple of things that I was wanting to pick up, and like the Ace Attorney games, I'll give it a little bit longer, hoping for another sale there, but definitely want to pick up some of these before they vanish. But
come on, give one last little gift to your few 13 million Wii U owners. Be like, every first-party title, 99 cents on the last day.
A penny. Suck them all up.
Yeah, that'd be great. One game that's going away. This is totally random, but did you guys know that there's a My Nintendo, so the rewards program, exclusive Twilight Princess Picross game? You guys ever heard of that? You do?
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure I did, because I had a bunch of those coins, and that was... For a long time before they introduced the physical rewards again, that was like the only interesting thing on there. It was like that and something else. So
I don't have that yet. So I'm grinding coins to get up to 1,000 to
grind coins.
You check in every week, and there's a few tasks that you can do. But I'll have enough. I'll have enough before it's over to redeem that game. So few people are gonna have. That thing's gonna be a rarity.
Yeah, if you've got a 3DS with the Ambassador program and that,
sell that for $1,000.
It's gonna be like PT. It's getting really, really expensive.
So I know we've done 3DS retrospectives, and I was the only one with a Wii U. But I want to talk about these consoles more as we approach the end dates, because they're pretty important ones to me. So we'll go through some of the best games that are on there.
Do you guys take a look at your memories page that they launched?
Yeah, so Nintendo put up in conjunction with this announcement, they're like, but you can relive your favorite 3DS and Wii U.
You won't be able to play them, but...
And it was totally to like try and flood social media, soften the blow of this news with everyone like getting all nostalgic over these systems. And before we get into ours, I was really devastated at how many people's Wii U memories I saw, where it was like the top 3 were like Netflix, Hulu, and YouTube. I'm like, that's just devastating.
Well, and then you have a bigger group of people, myself included, where it's like 3DS, take a look here. Wii U, you got nothing.
Yeah.
There's no data here.
Yeah, but Kev, what was yours?
Total play time. I thought there was more than this. I guess I played my DS more. 442 hours across 35 titles. My most play game, Animal Crossing New Leaf, as I feel like a lot of other people. That's one of the biggest time sinks on there at 84 hours. Harvest Moon: A New Beginning at 66 hours, and Rune Factory 4 at 49. So a bunch of life sim and farming games at the top of my list for me. RPG, simulation, and multiplayer were my top 3 genres.
Zach, did you take a look at yours?
I didn't. I saw that it existed, but and I was gonna check it out, but I forgot. Yeah, my Wii U would be 0, and I have no clue what my 3DS
along with
would be.
most other people, I think. Yeah.
Logan, my 3DS one, my top 3 titles: Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time 3D, 148 hours, makes sense. That's the one I play every year. Number 2 is Netflix,
Man,
which we've talked about before, at 146 hours
Dang.
of Netflix on my 3DS. And number 3 was Smash 3DS at 111 hours. 1,401 hours total. 192 titles played.
that's a
I
lot.
wonder how many of that is demos. And I downloaded every demo. It was so novel at the time when they were like, you can download demos. And I remember the first one they had was the Mario and Sonic at the London Olympic Games. I played that demo until it expired. I don't know why I did
it a
that,
great
but
game?
I played that demo. No, it was terrible. It was not fun. Yeah. Favorite genres: action, adventure, RPG.
Video
And then,
streaming. Is that your third?
Video streaming. Yeah. On the Wii U side, total playtime 1,066 hours. Total titles played 43.
That's like most of the Wii U library, isn't it?
It sure is. Number 1, Smash Wii U at 228 hours. And number 2, Mario Kart 8 at 159 hours. Some things never changed. Those are my top 2 games on Switch.
I would
also.
assume that if it's not like Netflix or Hulu, those would probably be the top 2.
Yeah.
of
And
games
number
played.
3, Hyrule Warriors at
Okay.
75 hours.
Saw some crazy times for people's Hyrule Warriors.
Yeah, there's a
My
ton
God.
there. There's a ton to do. And then other games that it like highlighted were Mario Maker, Splatoon, and Earthbound. Yeah, those are the games I think of when I think of the Wii U. Rest in peace, Nintendo
Almost,
Wii.
yeah.
Almost. Yeah, we'll do something. Year of Luigi retrospective part 2. I gotta buy Dr. Luigi. I never owned it. I gotta grab that before it
it's
goes
Is it
away.
Dr.
disappearing.
Luigi?
Yeah, Year of Luigi product.
Incredible.
Okay.
Top shelf.
Certified
Okay.
Year of Luigi product from Nintendo.
So we'll be talking about that more, I'm sure, as we all buy some games on those. And
we'll have to make
I'm actually-
some lists and go through some of them as we get closer. Definitely before they shut off the cards. Although it sounds like, according to their blog post, that if you link your 2 accounts, you can still
can
add
add money on the
funds
Switch.
via the
Yep.
Switch, and then use that same wallet on the 3DS and Wii U. So as long as you link those accounts, those earlier dates aren't as big of a deal.
Yeah, mine are already all connected, and I can confirm that is how it works. Whenever I log on to the Wii U shop, it's like, you got like 90 cents in here. I'm like, oh yeah, I do have a little bit left over in my Switch wallet. So yes, it does work that way. Yeah, and I'm actually working on a feature for IGN, which will be up this week, which is the best games on Wii U and 3DS that are going away forever. So I'll already have a little bit of a list that we can go through maybe next week on the show, sometime soon. But yeah, let's move on from that to some more exciting news, which Sonic Cinematic Universe is real, and it is here, and it is thriving. Sonic 2 isn't even out yet. It comes out in April, but we already learned, this was through a Viacom CBS Investors Day, where they revealed a bucket of projects for Paramount Plus, including Halo Season 2, a new Blue's Clues movie, for any Blue's Clues fans out there.
Yeah, they're going hard on Blue's Clues.
Yeah, they confirmed that a 3rd Sonic movie is already in development. They revealed the logo for that. The 3 is red this time, so kind of fitting with the Sonic Tails Knuckles
Even though
themes.
Knuckles is already rolling in 2.
Speaking of Knuckles, he's getting his own TV show on Paramount Plus. Idris Elba confirmed to return to voice him. He's voicing him in the movie. He's going to be sexy Knuckles,
Oh, yeah.
as we've talked about on this show. So yeah, Sonic Cinematic Universe is here. 3 movies and a TV project. And I can't help but wonder, would any of this happen if the original design had gone through and that is how the first Sonic movie had turned out? I don't know, but we really liked that movie. Super excited for the second one. So this is great news in my book.
Yeah, crazy seeing some of these re-ups before the stuff even is out yet. Looking at both Halo and, Sonic. Sonic at the very least had the first movie that did very well, but they must have, very high expectations for Sonic 2 that they would already greenlight a third movie and a TV show on it. But Halo also is just kind of crazy. That thing is not even out yet, and they're like, season 2, we're rolling in. I don't have Paramount Plus, and I, even after this, don't really have any plans to get it. I don't really want to spread myself out with like 20 different streaming services.
I'm going to use the free trial once all of Halo is out.
You got to wait until Halo's out and Knuckles is out and just binge it for like
exactly
a week and then be like, all right, I'm done. Bye, Paramount Plus. But I hope it's good. I love Knuckles. I hope his show is good. Just protecting the emeralds or something. I don't know.
I wonder if it'll, because there was a spin-off Knuckles comic back in the day. So it's kind of like they're doing the same thing here, where it was Sonic had the main comic and then Knuckles had a little side thing. And I'm excited he's getting his own show because he looks really good in the trailers and sounds good too. So I'm excited about this version of him. Better than the Boom version.
I wonder how much overlap there'll be with the movies and the show. Like how connected it'll be. Like it depends. It looks like it's the same look. Or have they...
I think so. I think it'll be like the live action with the.
So you would assume that there's a connection, but I wonder how deep they're going to go into that, or if it's going to be very much like a side thing, and Knuckles shows up in the movies, but we'll see.
Yeah, Zach, who's the new character going to be in Sonic 3?
I saw some theories that it was Big the Cat and Froggy.
That'd be great. What about Dead Amy?
Dead Amy?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh. I saw people saying that the 3 sideways looks like Metal Sonic's eyes. So people think that Metal Sonic's gonna be in it.
Man, who did that? Who turned that through? Oh my god, Metal Sonic, he's here.
Yeah. So I'm thrilled. Usually I'm like super not into just blowing up these franchises, milking them for all it's worth. Like all the Star Wars stuff going on has really killed my care for that universe, but I'm all in on this. I'm excited for it. Mostly because I thought the first movie was so good.
Guess we just have to hope it doesn't go off the rails anywhere.
Yeah. Just had a great idea. What if the red 3, you turn it sideways, it's an M, crossover with the Mario movie, Chris Pratt. It's going to be fantastic.
You heard it here first. Rumor roundup. The third Sonic movie will have Chris Pratt as Mario in it.
Speaking of rumor roundup, ties into the Sonic Frontiers news this week. And this was just in the confirmation of the movie announcement from the official Sonic the Hedgehog Twitter account, a special message about the future of the Sonic franchise from the CEO of Sega, Haruki Satomi, who says, "We are delighted to announce the third Sonic theatrical film and the first live-action Sonic series for Paramount Plus are being actively developed. We are excited to continue expanding the Sonic franchise with them. 2022 is shaping up to be a significant year, with the second film being released this April, as well as Sonic Frontiers, the highly anticipated video game title.
They're going for it this year.
Holiday.
Oh boy.
Coming this
Until
holiday.
It gets delayed.
Yep. So I just thought it was fun that we heard another little statement that Sonic Frontiers is on track for this year. It's not the biggest rumor, but when it's officially mentioned in the news, we got to go with it. We got to use that as the rumor.
They've got hopes. I mean, we're still almost a full, like 8 months away from holiday. So a lot could change in those 8 months. I still think there's a pretty good chance that it gets pushed to sometime in early 2023. As of now, though, they're aiming for 2022.
Mm-hmm. Wonder when we'll see more of it. I'm hoping E3. I think we probably will.
Yeah.
Around June. There's so many summer games events. It's got to be at one of them.
Yeah, and that'd be the next big thing going on. I mean, Nintendo just had their Direct and it wasn't there. And Sega doesn't do a lot of their own stuff, it seems. They kind of, use some of the other the platform holders and things to show off their stuff. So that'd probably be a pretty good bet. And if you don't see it, then there may be cause for some concern that it's not going to be hitting in holiday 2022 if it doesn't show up by E3 time, sometime by midsummer.
Usually Sonic has that panel at South by Southwest, which is usually like mid-March, but it didn't happen last year. I don't think Sonic's going to be there this year either, based on what I'm seeing. So maybe not there, but that's where they've shown a lot there. It's where they teased Team Sonic Racing for the first time. and they showed off a lot of Sonic Mania stuff there before too. But maybe then, but probably June. If it's coming out this year, for sure by June. There's got to be something. But yeah, so that's your rumor roundup. But big week for Sonic. They also got that animated series, Sonic Prime, which is in the works at Netflix.
I forgot about that.
Completely forgot about that. Yeah, it's been overshadowed recently.
Oh, nice.
Overshadowed.
Yeah, so we'll see about that. But I'm excited for the second movie. I thought all the trailers that I've seen for it looked really good. I saw a good tweet today that said Jim Carrey was great, but he should have put on 300 more pounds.
I saw that too.
That was funny.
He had to be dedicated to the role.
Yeah. Yep. So that's your rumor roundup, but we got a couple more news stories to get to, including Cyberpunk's next-gen version, Cyberpunk 2077.
Current gen now, yeah.
Finally playable, because it seems like it's pretty good now on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X specifically. The Series S version, I've heard, doesn't run quite as well.
Upgrades.
Doesn't have the 60 FPS or something?
Yeah, but it's 30 FPS.
It's locked at 30.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the ray tracing or the 60 FPS options that are offered on the Series X and the PS5.
And you would assume
it's everything else, like apparently
it does have high fidelity though, so like it runs better.
And apparently they improved, like, the crowd reaction was a big thing that they were talking about, and Series S does have that. So it has all of the kind of the actual inner workings of the game are better. It's just visually not quite as good. But I've heard great things about the PS5 and Series X versions, and it just makes me feel like it should have just come out now.
It should have come out.
Should have delayed it by 14 months.
Yeah.
A year and change.
People would have just been like, yep, more delays. Makes sense.
I mean,
nearly what we got.
On the one hand, I'm glad that the game is in a playable state and that people can enjoy it on something that's not a very highly optimized PC. Mm-hmm. But on the other end, I'm still really pissed off at how they hoodwinked everybody completely. Like, I don't think I've seen something that brazen before or since of just complete lies. Like Colonial Marines, I guess I wasn't, around for. I wasn't paying attention to that game when it was coming out, but I know that was a whole big debacle. But man, what a mess! And yeah, they should have just delayed this thing by another year, because then it would have come out and people are like, "Hey, this is a good game. I enjoy it." Yeah. Instead of just the absolute mess of the thing getting removed from the store and not being playable on last gen, and people can't even get current gen consoles at the time. Like, you could have just avoided all that.
Well, that game will now always have that stigma for the rest of its life.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing with No Man's Sky in the sense that, like, it's great now and people love it, but most of the conversation always starts with, man, this game was crap at one point,
like
and now it's good. Like, great, it's good now, but that will always be tied to it, and I think Cyberpunk will be the exact same way.
Yeah, and I do think it's one of the worst examples of it, for sure, because No Man's Sky, I think that hate for that was a little overblown at launch.
That was a really
functional game that looked good, and it just didn't have all the features that they wanted at launch, but they're all there now, so like they made good on everything they said.
And it got a new thing announced this week, right? There's a whole nother big update for it. It's crazy that
Sean Murray says
support.
They're not even close to being done with it. Like, they're still going to be working on it. I have a lot for it, but this one's bad. Like, especially with the state of the world at the time it came out, we were only 8 months into the pandemic, and I think that if they were like, we're delaying this thing indefinitely, it's not coming out maybe even next year, yeah, it would have sucked for people waiting for it. But now, today would be like a huge day for the games industry if it had just been Cyberpunk launch day. I think people would have been very excited, the reviews would have been rave, and it would have been a Game of the Year frontrunner. But instead, it shadow dropped in one of the busiest first quarters ever in games, and it's $25 on the PlayStation Store. They're like, and there's a 5-hour free trial. So it's just like, please try this game. They're doing everything they can to win the will of the people back. And it's a lesson that, just delay your games if you need. But Zach, you downloaded the 5-hour trial.
I did. I downloaded it. Once I saw that it was up, I didn't know it was dropping as soon as it did. I thought it would be coming later this year. So I was excited for this game. Glad I didn't pre-order it. Glad I waited to see the mess Decided to just put it off indefinitely till I got fixed. Saw some good things about the 1.5 update. Still some features missing that people were hoping for or that was promised. I don't really know the specifics, but I think this is a good time to play Cyberpunk if you're interested. I booted it up as a joke just when I was on the phone with Logan, and then this countdown started at 5 hours, and it was like 4 hours 59 minutes, and I was like,
You gotta
holy
go,
crap!
Zach.
And then I like
Gotta
panicked
play.
and turned it off because I didn't know that it was like a 5-hour timer. Hopefully that turning the game off stopped the timer. Hopefully it didn't just
Wow,
kick it off.
that would suck. From the time you booted up the
Exactly.
first time, you got 5
I was hoping
hours. You better be
hoping to
ready.
spend
gotta
some time in
commit.
character creation, but maybe that's not the best idea. I gotta squeeze as much as I can out of those 5 hours.
Does progress transfer?
I have no idea. I really don't.
I wanna look. Yeah, you'll probably want
If
to
that thing
get
ends
as
in the middle of a cutscene, I'm gonna be really upset.
probably want to get as far into the game as you can to make sure that things aren't still
Exactly.
freaking out. You know, you want to actually
I'd
see
love
the
to do
game in
free
action.
trial just to
on
make
your
sure
system.
I want to play it, that it's not as buggy, and that it's actually what I want it to be. So.
Especially with the nature of Cyberpunk, which has like the 3 different openings before you even get to the open world segment.
Yeah.
And they're like multiple hours long, I think. I wonder if the demo just like drops you in Night City. It was like, just do whatever you want for 5 hours. I don't know. I don't know enough about it. Because I still have negative interest in that game after everything that happened. Yeah. Kevin, are you ever going to return to Cyberpunk? I know you bought it and returned it at launch.
Yeah. So luckily, buying it US and having it shipped over here gave me enough time to see that the game was utterly broken and just immediately shipped it back. Currently, I'm still running on a PS4, and as much as they update that thing, that game is never going to get to the point where it is a great experience for it. I think that at most it's going to be serviceable, and I feel like at this point, now that they have the next gen version out, and then I feel like the last gen versions are stable, I guess, is probably about what we're going to get. I think that's it. I think at this point, they're going to be focusing on current gen, and I wouldn't blame them for it because there's only so much you can squeeze out of the consoles. Although Horizon Forbidden West seems to run pretty well on PS4. But until I get a PS5, there is absolutely no interest. And then once I do get a PS5, there's a bunch of other stuff I'd rather play over Cyberpunk. This would be one that, years down the line, it'd be like a Witcher thing for me, where I just pick up the game for $10 or $15 and give it a whirl and see how it is with all the DLC included. But it is not one I have any urgency to play right now, especially when I'm only on last gen.
Yeah, and we're just a few people that probably, like, I don't think this game will sell as much as it was going to. Like, you two were for sure going to buy it. You were going to buy it on day one. I remember all of 2020, you guys were, like, really excited for Cyberpunk. I was never probably going to play it. And then it went from me maybe to never. And even you guys are like, Zach's like, I'll try the free trial. And Kevin's like, maybe, but probably not, just based
Free
on
trial
everything else
has to
that's out.
really win me over. I'll say that right now,
Yeah.
especially in this busy year of video games.
I'm sure there's thousands, tens of thousands of people, maybe more, that feel the same way, that this game just really stumbled. And I'm curious if we're going to see people more hesitant or less hesitant to delay games based on what happened here.
You hope so.
Yeah. That's Cyberpunk. We got a couple other stories. We got BioShock getting a movie from Netflix. Does anybody care?
I mean, I played the first BioShock. I think it's a very good game. I don't know if I'd make a one-to-one adaptation of the game itself, but I think that you could make a very interesting TV show about the world. And you could make a TV show about the creation of the underwater city and everything that went into it in its collapse. I think that'd be very interesting. I don't know if it'll turn out well. It's a video game adaptation, so you try not to go in with much of an expectation, and hopefully it blows you away, or you can at least be like, oh, that was solid. But I think at the very least in this universe, they could do interesting things with it. And of course, they'll probably try and, have it launch around the time that the next BioShock game comes out. So we'll see.
Yeah, they've squeezed everything they can out of superheroes. We're just going to see every video game under the sun get some sort of adaptation on Netflix or any of these other services. I mean, just this week, Halo Season 2, Sonic, Bioshock confirmed. It's just happening more and more. The Uncharted movie comes out
Uncharted movie.
today.
Mario movies coming with
Yep.
presumably spin-offs and Donkey Kong movie
yeah.
or whatever. Like, there's gonna be a lot.
Yeah. We'll see how much of it ends up being good. But the tides have been shifting a little bit. Seeing very mixed things on Uncharted. Seeing some people are like, yeah, it was fun. It was a fun, kind of mindless action movie. And some people are like, this is terrible, and I hated it. So, yeah, we'll see. Kevin, you're seeing it this weekend. Zach and I are seeing it for a couple more weeks. So we'll hopefully hear from you next week on what you think of it, and then we can do our full, more spoilery discussion 2 episodes from now.
I don't know if we said this on the show, but we did get our codes for free tickets.
You did? Okay, it worked.
To the PS5 version.
They came like 10 days later.
Later in email,
Yeah.
and it didn't even come to my inbox. It came to my side inbox with all Gmail.
The promotions.
Promotions.
Yeah.
It was in my
they don't want you to
promotions,
see
which I
that.
never check. So I luckily saw online that it was coming to email on this day. So I checked all my inboxes and found it. Thank goodness. So I'll be able to. Yeah.
Does that work at any movie theater, or is it like
Regal.
select?
Just Regal
theaters?
Cinema.
Regal.
Cinemas.
Yes.
Okay.
Any Regal, though.
All right, that's that. I
Yep.
mean, that's pretty a pretty wide range of theaters.
Yeah. Yep. So we'll hit up a Regal when we see it in a week from now. Which is exciting.
I'm looking forward
Uncharted
to
movie.
it.
Me too.
I
Yeah. There's spoilers out there already.
Yeah, you gotta.
Zach and I were both spoiled on a little thing.
On
So-
Twitter.
Gotta go dark.
Yeah.
Spoiled by 3 things on Twitter in one day. It was a bad
Before the
day.
movie's even out.
Yeah.
It's like they took this set piece from this game and this one from this one.
That's just the trailers.
Guys.
Whoa, no more movies.
That's it.
There also no continuity with the games because he's dead now.
Dude, yeah. Yeah, that's a whole other issue. There's continuity with the games. It's like, oh, you did all these stunts before when you were a kid? Now it's just like, why aren't you freaking out?
And then they're gonna
the
have
exact same thing is happening to you.
the obligatory amnesia or something.
Oh, yeah, the anime amnesia.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. We got a countdown website from Capcom for February 20th. Lots of theories about what it's going to be.
PM.
Yeah, it's coming soon. Some people think it could be Resident Evil related. Some people say Street Fighter. So let's make our official guesses right here. What's this countdown clock for? Zach.
I do not think it's going to be Resident Evil. I think that this countdown has to be for something bigger than Resident Evil 8 DLC. It's nowhere near Resident Evil 9 announcement time. So I'm going to say Street Fighter 6 announcement. I think it's time now that Street Fighter 5 is finally wrapped up with the final Fighters Pass. So I think this might be a good time.
Kevin.
I'd love it to be something Ace Attorney, but I also think that the most likely option is something Street Fighter related, which means I won't really pay attention too much. But
yeah, I'm seeing that there's apparently a Street Fighter tournament that wraps up at that time.
Capcom Cup or something like that.
Yeah, the Street Fighter Pro Tour season final wraps up at that time. But I don't know. Just based on the aesthetic of this countdown clock,
It looks very Resident Evil.
It looks like Resident Evil.
It really
So
does, but I don't know what it would be.
RE4
Resi
remake.
4. Yep.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to say. I'll roll with that. Although it seems weird to announce a game that big. Either Street Fighter 6 or Resident Evil 4 Remake just with a rando countdown clock. That feels strange to me.
I think that's a pretty good guess. It matches the aesthetic, and I think that's pretty widely desired by the community.
Yeah.
We've been talking about it for a
we'll
while.
find out.
There's a lot of stuff swirling about Resident Evil 4, so.
Yeah. Absolutely. And then our last news piece here for the day, before we get into our O2, which ties into, is even if you don't buy the Mario Kart 8 DLC Booster Course Pass, you can still play it online in the random rotation. So that's just good. That's good news, that if you play online, you won't be blocked out of any lobbies if you don't buy this thing yourself.
Yeah, you always want to keep it open to everybody. You don't want to segment your player base with different maps and things. It's a good move.
Yeah.
And for people that don't want to pay for it and play online a lot, maybe you'll get a good experience of the booster pass without actually paying for it. Which,
yeah, they'll be pretty rare. 56 courses, and then how the online lobby works is you have to vote between 3 courses or pick random. So if one of them comes up in the 3-course selection, that increases your odds. Or you could just pick random every time for an 8 out of 56 chance to see one of those show up. Yeah, 1 in 7. Yeah.
But there's a chance.
Kev, yeah. That ties into our O2 Mario Kart.
Yeah. So last week when this news dropped, I think we all knew that we wanted to do a wish list of some of the Mario Kart tracks that are not represented in 8 that we would love to see come back as part of this DLC. Zach, you've got one cup's worth, and
I have not played a lot of Mario
me
Kart
and Logan,
outside of 8.
We've got 2 cups worth, 8 tracks, and Zach has 4 here. I don't know how you ordered yours, Logan. I ordered mine. The first cup was the ones that I wanted the most, and then the second cup was kind of the tier below that. But
mine are just my second cup's all from one game, so I just
really? Okay,
them like
so
that,
it's just that one game's cup.
Yep. I'll reorganize mine right now while you go.
Yeah, so I'll go through that lower tier cup of tracks that I want to see. Maple Treeway from Wii. It showed up again in 7 and Tour. I just like the aesthetic of it a lot, with that fall aesthetic style with the piles of leaves that you're driving through. Not the most memorable for its track design for me, more so just the aesthetic of it. But I think that it would do well to be represented in Mario Kart 8. Toad's Factory on Wii. Have a lot of good memories with that one.
It's a cool course.
One of my favorites from Wii of just the different sections of the factory. You know, you've got the outside section with the crates as they're shipping things off. You go inside and they have the crushers where they're making whatever they're making in there. You know, I kind of just like the continuity of it, where it's like, oh yeah, this is like, in a way, you know, its own like working factory, and that's always kind of fun when you have a track that kind of operates on its own and is kind of doing its own thing, and you're just doing a race through it. Waluigi Stadium. This one has not been released outside of the GameCube, and it's
it's on Wii.
Oh, it's on Wii? Oh, it is on Wii.
Retro on Wii.
Oh, it is on Wii. Okay, never mind. But I love that course. I played it a lot on GameCube. I do really like those dirt track style of courses, because they always lend themselves well to just like jumps and tricks and just random stuff that I don't think work as well in the other courses. I think they can jam a lot more in it, just because that's kind of the nature of those courses, of just like random obstacles in your way. And I think that Waluigi Stadium is one of the better examples of that. Better than Wario Stadium and N64, which is this long track with not a whole lot going on in it. It actually has stuff happening in it. And then DK's Jungle Parkway N64 came back in Wii. One of my favorites from the N64. Yeah. That one's just iconic to me as a kid, of like shooting off that hill and going over the ramp. Yeah, going over the water and that bridge partway through, trying to go up the wall in the cave to try and get up faster. Like, I don't know why, but that one stuck in my brain as one of the classics from the N64. So that would be my first cup of tracks that I would want to see. Logan, how about you for your lower tier cup?
Well, first of all, I saw your picks before I made mine, and I agreed with a ton of yours. I actually, the night before, I made 40 tracks that I wanted to
So
see.
It's basically the whole booster pass.
Pretty much all the ones that you said were on mine, with a couple exceptions. So I picked completely differently from you, just to get more tracks represented. First up, Woohoo Loop. This is from Mario Kart 7. It is Woohoo Island from Wii Sports Resort, and it was the first track ever to be in segments instead of laps, which is a really awesome idea. They've only used a few times. Only Mount Wario in Mario Kart 8, Big Blue in the DLC, and then a few tracks in the 3DS game are the only ones to do it. Oh, and N64 Rainbow Road, they converted into that too. But Woohoo Loop was the first one, and it's awesome. You just drive around the entire island. You go through the town square, you go across the bridge. It's daytime, it's great music. Yeah, love that one. Then Delfino Square, which is from the DS originally, and then it's on Wii 1 also. Just a really cool town. There's a really cool drawbridge that you can launch yourself over if the timing is right, or you just drive straight across. There's a lot of wild shortcuts. There's a cool little water section you drive by. That's just a really cool track with a really good song too. I like that one a lot. Wario Coliseum from Double Dash and I believe DS. I think it was remade on DS. It is
Yes. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. It was, I believe, on DS.
insane metal jungle gym,
Yeah.
Mario Coliseum with crazy turns and jumps.
Yeah, the
It's
big jump over the pit near the
Yeah,
end, where you're gonna like, are you gonna risk it and go off the booster and try and cut that out? Yeah,
the track's
classic.
amazing. It has a ton of sections with no guardrails where you can just fly off. It's I believe, the only course that's 2 laps. It's because the laps are that long, so it's only a 2 lap course, which I always thought was really unique. So I want that one to come back. It'd be really cool. The Wario and Waluigi tracks are so
They're
good
always
in
good.
Mario Kart. Yeah, and then Maka Woohoo, which is the same concept as Woohoo Island. It's another segmented one, but this one's based around the volcano in Woohoo Island from Mario Kart 7. And it's at like golden hour sunset, and it ends with this huge hang gliding section where you glide down over the beach area of Woohoo Island. And I just want all the segment tracks to come back. So those are my first 4.
Need more woohoo representation. Like,
Get it in there. Instead of that weirdo square from Nintendo Switch Sports.
yeah.
Doesn't look as good as
I want to
Woohoo
fly
Island.
around the island, and if I
Why
can't
didn't you
do
just
that,
bring
I'd
back
at
the
least
island?
be able to drive carts around it instead.
Yeah.
Zach, you want to go with your 4?
Yes. I would like to preface this by saying the only Mario Kart I've ever owned is Mario Kart DS, which I did not play a lot of. And then outside of that, I played some Mario Kart Wii and Mario Kart 8 on other friends' consoles, and had a good time with those. So I picked the 4 that kind of stood out in my head the most from what little I have played. The first one being Maple Treeway, which Kevin has already talked about. Really cool aesthetic, but I also remember really liking the track design, like going up and around the tree and
The Wigglers
to dodge the Wigglers.
at the top,
Yep,
yeah.
at the top. So I really remember that one standing out particularly in my head. So I'd love to see that one come back. And then Waluigi Stadium, like you said as well. I don't remember this course at all. I just love Waluigi and would love to have him have
More
more
of him,
representation.
more of him.
Yep,
It's a great course.
more him. And then that leads nicely into Waluigi Pinball, which is a course I remember very well because I love it. I think it might
Classic.
be my favorite course from the DS. Every time that one comes up, I just think it's super cool. Very bright lights with the pinball aesthetic. And then last one I have is Peach Gardens, which I remember. I think it's a pretty flat course, but I like the twists and turns it takes.
Is that the
ending
one
up
with the
on the
hedge
staircase.
mazes?
Yeah,
Yes,
the maze
yeah.
with the chain
Yeah.
jumps.
Okay, yeah.
That's cool.
I think, yeah, I remember really liking that one for some reason. I don't remember why, but it's in my head. And my list would have a couple more additions, like Choco Mountain and Coconut Mall, but those have already made it into the DLC. So good for
Yeah.
me. I got a couple of my favorites already in there. And these are the 4 that I would still very much like to see. I think Waluigi Pinball and Maple Treeway being the two front runners by far.
Yeah, Waluigi Pinball is classic. I have that on my other cup. Yeah, a classic from the DS. Incredible music, and yeah, just the aesthetic
I
of.
still listen to the song by itself a lot
Yeah.
for Waluigi Pinball.
I think it's in
Yeah.
Smash too.
And then, as a kid, you're just playing that course, and then as you get older, you realize like, oh, I'm the ball, like going through this thing, like I'm getting shot out of the little section of the pinball. And just that whole section at the bottom where you've got the bumpers and and one of them's like electrified and you have to get around it. It's a classic course. Yeah, Waluigi's got some incredible courses. I don't know why he's great. Love Waluigi.
Because he's great and everyone loves him.
Yeah. Some more tracks from my second cup, Moonview Highway from Wii. That is
Remember hating that one.
Night. It could be pretty brutal sometimes with the cars driving
hard.
through. But I just love that nighttime aesthetic, like Toad's Turnpike from N64. But I think this one just kind of ratchets it up to another degree. Like Toad's Turnpike, it's a classic. I love it, and I like the things they did with it in 8 of being able to drive on the walls and stuff. But for the most part, it's kind of just like a circle, and the roads don't really change too much beyond the little side sections for items and stuff. But I feel like Moonview Highway's got a lot more going on in the city with cars
like a toll
driving
booth.
around. You've got toll booths to go through. Yeah, and I feel like beyond it on Wii, I don't really remember it being anywhere else. So I'd like to see that one come back. A couple more GameCube ones. Daisy Cruiser is one of my favorites from Double Dash, of driving through that that cruise ship, you got the pool at the beginning. You go down into the dining room. I don't know why those tables are moving so hard, but got to avoid all of those. The shortcut where you can drop down and go through the little cannon up to the back of the ship and come back up and around. That one's a classic. Love to see that one back. And then probably my favorite from GameCube, if not one of my favorites, DK Mountain. Complete classic of going up through the cannon. You see the entire mountain that you're going to be going down, and then you go all the way down to the bottom. And that bridge at the end is so brutal. And I love that video online of the person that gets shot off at like 8 times. It's a great video.
Yeah.
And it's really good. So they get hit by something, someone like bounces them off, they spawn back in, they drive off, and then they get hit again. It's great. And it's always fun playing that track with friends, and they get on the bridge and it's just like, am I gonna fall off? But that one's a classic, and I'd love to see that one come back.
Yeah,
Logan?
me too, man. Daisy Cruiser, DK Mountain, Waluigi Pinball, Maple Treeway are like all in my top 5 picks. Maple Treeway is probably my favorite Mario Kart course that's not in 8. That's probably my number one that I'd want to see. But I picked all different ones. So Rock Mountain is from Mario Kart 7, and it is the first big showcase for the hang glider in the series. So you glide a ton down this really cool forest, and then you scale up a mountain at the very end with boulders falling down. It's a pretty good track. You also fly or drive through some caves that have bats flying around in the beginning of the course too. That's just a standout from Mario Kart 7 for me. And then I have Koopa Cape, which is from the Wii originally and is also in just a really good water course, driving through I don't even really know what to call it. A mountain? A river? I don't know. It's just this cool area.
Wait, is that the one where you go through the tunnel underwater
at the end?
Yep. Oh, that one's great. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, and you're like going down a water slide for a part of it, and there's like a big red Koopa shell that you can drive through. It's like a shortcut. It's a really, really great track. That's a classic from Wii. And then I made a late change because Zach had Peach Gardens, which I also had, but I threw on Mushroom Bridge from the GameCube, which is another city car track.
Oh, yeah.
I really like that one. And it has the at the end, there's the bridge where you can like go up across the entire thing.
So
on the
brutal.
top, and it's actually slower than just going normally, so it's not even worth it. But that one's really cool. Also, Mushroom City is kind of the precursor to Moonview Highway from the GameCube, where it's a night track.
Yeah, I love that one too.
There's branching paths, and there's the Wiggler bus, which can just destroy you. Yeah, so either one of those I'd love to see.
What's the course where you bounce along the top of like red mushrooms with white dots? You bounce across them into a cave.
Mushroom Gorge? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at that one too.
That's a decent track, yeah. And then my last one is 3DS Rainbow Road. That's the best Rainbow Road ever, in my opinion. It is another segmented one, so I just threw in every segment track that I want to see. You are driving on planets in this one. Like, you drop down to, like, the moon, basically, and there's chain jumps that are, like, low gravity, bouncing all around you. It's just a super cool track. There's a really cool hang gliding section at the end, too. Yeah, it's my favorite Rainbow Road, and I think that there should be a Rainbow Road somewhere in this DLC.
Yeah.
In 48 new courses, you got to add at least one, and that's the one I went with. So, but beyond these returning ones, the ones I want to see the most are the other tour tracks that have not already been confirmed. We already have the Ninja Hideaway, the Tokyo Blur, and the Paris Promenade, but we got New York, London, Vancouver, LA, the North Pole, Berlin, Sydney, and Singapore are all other tracks from tour that I want to see just because I've never played them before.
I wonder how they play. Because, you know, when you make smartphone games, you do have to simplify things a little bit because you can't have it be as high octane while you're just on your phone because it's a lot harder to control. So we've already seen that there are several tour tracks coming, presumably more. So I will be curious to see how those play.
Yeah.
Because, I'm sure that a bunch of people have not played this for good reason because Mario Kart Tour with its microtransactions is pretty nasty.
$50 for Diddy Kong.
Yikes.
So if you want to play any of those courses, this is probably the opportunity for you. Yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm excited for the DLC.
Month out from the first drop.
Yeah, coming up soon. All right, Zach, want to finish it off with what we've been playing?
It's gonna do it for this week's Ode to segment news and rumor roundup.
Lot going
Oh
on.
yeah.
We'll now be
Big
moving
rumor.
on to what we've been playing briefly. Some games beaten this week that we'll be able to talk about, starting with Kevin. No, you beat a game recently. Why don't you talk about it?
Tomb Raider's done, and I
It's not
enjoyed
a long
it.
game.
What?
Glad you beat it. It's not very long.
No,
is
it's
it?
not super long. I had a crash.
Oh,
Oh no.
So there's a moment where you are on a burning building and you have to jump to a helicopter, and while she was in the air jumping to the helicopter, it crashed. So like at this like, you know,
horrible.
this big moment in the story, like, oh, you know, I gotta get off this building, it's gonna blow up. It's just like, oh, there's a crash. It was kind of surprising because that was the only crash I had. I don't know what happened there. But other than that, it was a fun little romp. Like, it never reached the heights of an Uncharted game, especially 2 and onwards, 2, 3, and 4. It didn't. You know, Uncharted 1, it's a classic, but you look at 2, 3, and 4 much more fondly in terms of
Lost Legacy.
some of the and Lost Legacy for some of the set pieces and just some of the bigger things that they did beyond that first one. So I'd put Tomb Raider more in that camp and a little bit lower because the characters, you know, they're not as likable. And like I talked about last week, there's that moment where one of the guys dies. I'm like, I don't know who you are. Like,
Yeah.
am I going to be sad about that? But there are some really cool set pieces that you go through. One of my favorites was you're in this like bridge or this boat that they have kind of suspended in the sky, and then a whole bunch of stuff happens there. I thought that was super cool. Yeah, I enjoyed it. There were some weird moments at the end, specifically with the it's got its journal entries where it's like, oh, you know, this character has left you notes or something, and sometimes it doesn't make any sense. Like, I watched a man die like before he ever entered this building, and I know for a fact that he never entered the building, and then I go in there and there's a note from him. I'm like, how'd you get in here?
Nice.
Like, why is there this note? And also, in the very late stages of the game, you're battling these people that use basically just bow and arrows and like ancient tools and stuff, which is cool. Like that was a really cool final area of just like high octane like combat through there. But they're dropping like rifle and shotgun ammo. I'm like, how do you have this? Like, none of you
Nice.
use any of these weapons.
that never
like,
occurred to me.
I appreciate it because it allows me to tear through you guys a whole lot quicker. But you guys forget the guns and just bring the ammo? Like, I don't know. But I enjoyed it. I had a good time, and I've heard that the next game in the series kind of expands on it and is is the continuation of that. And I enjoyed it enough that that I give it another go with, what is it, Rise? Rise is the next one.
Yes.
Rise of the Tomb Raider, yep.
Yeah.
Monster Hunter Rise of the Tomb Raider.
Yeah, but I enjoyed it.
My thoughts on Rise, if I liked it more or not. I liked
Who was your
Shadow of the
favorite
Tomb
one?
Raider. Was or wasn't?
It was. Rise was your favorite one.
Shadow was my favorite.
I
Interesting.
don't
That
think
seems to
that's
be the
true.
weaker link
Definitively.
for
Definitively.
everybody.
I have no idea if that's true. I don't remember the second one at all. It did not stick. It might just be aggressively forgettable because I remember the first one, and I remember the third one, but I just don't remember the second one. I think it was snowy.
Well,
Got
that's the picture on the
Maybe
cover
that's
of
all
it
I remember is the
Laura
picture.
But yeah, I enjoyed the combat. Some good set pieces, some good action. Story's a little bit forgettable, and it's got some weird stuff. But if you enjoy Uncharted, and now that for a while it seems like the series is not going to be getting a bunch of new entries beyond the movies, I'd say it's worth a shot, especially because it's pretty cheap. The collection goes on sale quite frequently. Also, screw online achievements and trophies.
Seriously.
It's still stupid. Like, I would have been kind of inclined to just go back and grab the other collectibles, but because there's all these online trophies, I'm like, no, thank you. I will not do that. And then beyond that, booted up Wario World on the
Oh,
GameCube.
I love that game.
Wow.
And it is bizarre. It is such a weird game it's Wario, so it's going to be weird. Of just, Wario going through, beating up enemies, picking them up, pile driving them for his attacks, spinning them around. The second boss is a dinosaur in like, I don't even know, like a swimsuit or underwear or something. Like,
Nice.
in like it's so weird, and the menu music is just Wario making noises, and it is aggressively annoying to the point where I pause the game for a second. I'm like, I gotta go back to playing because I can't stand the menu music.
That's awesome.
But yeah, like, it's also interesting looking at this game as someone who played Super Mario Sunshine, because there are sections that are incredibly similar. Like, there are these sections where you butt stomp into this door and you go down into the earth, and then they have these floating sections, like the floating sections in Super Mario Sunshine. They're not as brutal because when you die, you don't lose health or anything. You just kind of get spawned back, which is great because some of them are kind of brutal. But yeah, it's really interesting how there's a parallel there. Yeah, it's like a 2.5D platformer. It's not full 3D. You only get
Oh, it isn't?
No, it's 2.5. More so in the vein of Super Mario 3D World, I think.
Oh, okay. That's not what I think of when I hear 2.5D. I think like Metroid Dread is like 2.5D.
So what would that? Because it's not a full 3D platformer in the sense
isometric 3D platformer.
I guess that would be the description for it.
Weird. I didn't know that. I guess I thought it was like.
Yeah, it's not the only time you have full range of the camera is in those not even full range, but like actually being able to turn the camera around yourself is in those floating sections. But yeah, it's super interesting. Wario doesn't really get his own platforming games anymore. The story is really not there. There's just a gem that is evil and you have to go and collect everything. But as far as platformers go, it's enjoyable just running through and getting all the collectibles. It's not super hard. Doesn't have lives. You lose money and you can restart at sections if you run out of health. Yeah, it's interesting, and it's a game that I don't think they would do anymore. A Wario centric platformer. I feel like at this point it's WarioWare, nothing
exclusive,
for him. Yep. So it's interesting to see him in his own game. And
what, Shake It was the last one?
Yeah. What, 15 years ago?
Yeah.
And that one is purely 2D, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's like hand drawn.
Yeah. Which I've heard is also very good. The Wario games are good.
Yeah.
I enjoy.
People love Wario Land 4 on GBA.
They're good games, and I think Wario World fits into that mold well. It sucks that it's just stuck on the GameCube and probably won't get rescued. Maybe if they're doing NSO and they're actually serious about providing more classic games, maybe we'll see it again.
So GameCube, let's go.
I'd love to have GameCube come back.
It'd be so expensive. They probably another $25.
I'd pay for it. I'd pay for GameCube.
Yeah, I'd do the GameCube too.
But yeah,
I bumped it up to like 60 a year. I'd do it.
If somehow you have a way to play Wario World, I'd recommend it for a nice little romp. Just don't pause the game because it will make your ears bleed.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's all I've been up to this week.
Awesome, Logan. We played some stuff together.
Doing not much because we got Horizon tonight.
I know I'm also in a bit of a waiting on Horizon kind of place right now.
You don't want to pick up
start
anything too big.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I just Zach was here and we played some more Majora's Mask. We are 3/4 of the way done with the main quest, and I really don't have any changes in how I'm thinking about that game still. Kind of last week, and then Mario Strikers. Been playing a ridiculous amount of Mario Strikers since Battle League was announced last week in the Direct, and I played the GameCube one, Super Mario Strikers, which is the one I played growing up. And then I picked up Strikers Charged, which I had physically for a long time, but just never booted up. And I had my first experience with that. And my takeaway is I think the GameCube one is a much better game. So I am hoping that Battle League takes more from that one than it does from Charged. Not to get too far into it, but basically with the Super Strike move in Charged, you can score 6 goals at a time. And then there's that goalie mini game where you use the pointer controls to try and block as many of the 6 as you can. But super strikes are so common. I just found that killed the pacing of the game. And I only played like 2 or 3 games with Zach. So I didn't like that. And then I thought otherwise, it was impossible to score. offensively if you weren't doing
It
a
was-
super strike.
Whole game, it was like 0-0 without those super strikes. Like the goalies would not let anything past them, no matter how many times you shot or how many times you did like a quick shot off a pass. There was just no way of getting it in, which was crazy.
But then
I don't know.
the GameCube one was an offensive machine. We were scoring.
great.
Oh
left
yeah, you
and
could
right.
score hard on the original
Absolutely.
strikers.
Seemed
And
a
I
lot
really
more
liked
skill
that.
based.
Yeah, I really
Absolutely.
liked that, and I do like that there's the more sidekicks in the in Striker's Charge, and I like that you're not confined to just one for your entire team like you are in the original. So that character variety is good, but gameplay wise, I think the first one's just a lot stronger. There's also more content in the Wii one, more fields. Every field from the original is in the Wii one, which is cool. There's some more stuff to do. But so yeah, bring the stuff and the characters from Charged, but
And the cool intro
gameplay
video.
from the original. Oh yeah,
The intro video is
Which was
incredible
awesome.
in Charged.
It's incredibly hardcore. But I did rewatch the Battle League trailer, and I saw that Super Strikes are worth 2 goals again, straight up. So that has already returned to the GameCube one, which is much better than how it is in the Wii one. But I'm loving the original. I'm going and doing the Super Cup tournaments where you play like 8 different matches to try and qualify for the playoffs, and then you win a couple matches to win the playoffs to get a trophy. And
Unlock
that's
the
you unlock like, the
cyborgs.
cheat modes. I have the cyborgs already, but that's how you get the cheat modes like giant mode or super fast mode and just stuff to make it even crazier. It's a great game. It's a great pick up and play game, and it's making me more excited for a new one in HD with online play that a lot of people are going to be playing. So yeah, it just got me more hyped for it.
I'm
Yeah,
excited.
if it's anything like the GameCube version, it's definitely going to outshine the more recent Mario sports games that have not my interest at all. Yeah, because I had a lot of fun on the GameCube one, which I wasn't expecting. Yeah, it was really good. Maybe I'll be more inclined if when you do pick up the new one, and I try it out. Maybe I'll pick it up so we can play more often online.
Yeah, join our league. We're
Yeah.
gonna have a battle league, us 3 maybe, and 17 others from around the internet.
Yeah,
Holy
we're
crap.
gonna have to scout some people out.
Yep, for sure. If you want to join, tweet at odetogames, and you'll join our battle league.
Eventually, when the game comes out,
To
in
league,
4 months.
yep.
4 months. It'll be a little while.
Then for me, the only thing is I beat Miles Edgeworth Ace Attorney Investigations 2. Like I said, I kind of just hit a slump in the middle, and then I blazed through the end on, like, I just pick it up one day. I'm just like, I'm going to finish this game. This was probably the longest one I've played so far. I don't know the exact time, but it took a very long time to get through this game. It's paced way better than the first one. Like, I feel like the cases were pretty quick in the first Investigations game, and then the last one just dragged way too long. And then in this one, I think each case got the right amount of time that it needed, and the last one did not drag at all. And it, the gaps in between the cases were like almost immediate. Like, this Miles Edgeworth doesn't really get a break. Like, the whole span of these 2 games is like a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And
He's
there's
crazy.
5 cases.
Put
That's
in
like
overtime.
10 murders in 2 weeks. Like, man had to solve 10 murders in 2 weeks, which is insane. And they still questioned his like capabilities as a prosecutor. And I'm like, come on, this guy's the best around. You know it. Why are you questioning it? And this game, yeah, it's my favorite in the series so far. I think it was absolutely incredible. I'm really gonna miss the walking around investigations. The logic I really liked at the end. The logic chess was a cool gimmick. I'm fine that they didn't bring that back. But yeah, now I'll just be able to move on to the final 2 Phoenix Wright games, and then the Great Ace Attorneys, which are Logan's favorite, and I guess Kevin's current favorite.
Yeah.
Great Ace Attorney 2. Yeah.
Yep.
I really want to play those so bad, but I got to get through Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice.
And again,
We were
PSA on
excited.
those.
Okay.
3DS.
Yeah.
If you want to
Grab
pick them
the
up
DLC.
now,
You don't want to play them on
and
my
you don't want to
phone.
play them on
DLC.
phones.
Yeah.
Was the DLC
Yeah.
on the phone version or no?
I think so. I think
Okay.
it is, but just grab it before you forget. Before you literally can't
Yeah,
anymore.
like I'm still hopeful that that they're going to get their own collection at some point, but
yeah.
before the shop closes down, if they haven't announced it by then, I probably want to pick those up just to be safe, because there's a chance they might not.
And Zach and I were talking that Zach is undergoing the same journey as I did, where you're like, man, 3's the best. No, actually, Miles 2 is the best. So those were my two
And Great
favorites.
Ace Attorney 2
Prior to
is
Great
the
Ace
best.
Attorney 2
Yep.
being my favorite.
So we'll see if it all stays the same.
Yep.
All right.
That's it for me. Yeah.
This time next week, it's going to be Horizon and Uncharted.
Yeah.
Big stuff next week.
Huge day for PlayStation on Friday. Horizon, Forbidden West, and an Uncharted movie. Dang.
Yeah.
Big day.
So, yeah, look forward to next week where we're going to have thoughts on both Forbidden West and the Uncharted movie. Any final thoughts before we wrap up this week's
We're
episode?
also doing the Nintendo Switch Sports playtest this weekend.
Oh, nice.
Which you're not
We'll have
allowed
some-
to talk about.
Can't talk about it?
Did you guys see that? It's bizarre.
No, I didn't see that.
It's in this fine print, and it's like, by signing up, you agree that you will not post screenshots or videos or share impressions of the game on social
Never mind.
well, you can.
Anything.
I mean, saying that you're going to do it, I don't think is an impression.
Yep.
No, I just think it's bizarre that.
Why do they-
I don't know why.
I
they
guess
like that.
because is it going to be rough? Like, man,
If
this
it's
this
bad,
game
yeah.
does not run. I
Yeah,
mean,
I don't know.
I guess
What
to
are
an
they gonna
extent,
do,
the
arrest
network
me?
test, it's kind of supposed to have some issues. You know, that's what they're
Wanna
trying to
talk
work
about
out. And it's nice that it's this far in advance. I feel like some of those tests were like beta tests like a week before some of these games came out. Like Anthem had one of those, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, maybe if that doesn't work so well, the impressions would not be very good.
Yeah.
Even though it's
Don't care.
still a little ways out.
I'll talk about it. I don't care about the rules.
Whoa.
Nothing they can do to me.
I mean,
Strike our podcast.
I
yeah.
don't care. It's not my podcast.
We just have to cut Zach's part.
Yeah.
Throw it to Zach. What you been playing? All right. He hasn't played anything this week.
Final thoughts?
Logan, any final thoughts from you before we wrap up?
Rip the Wii U, man. Rest in peace.
Been dead for 5 years.
Been
Rip.
dead since 2012.
Yeah, you could say
10
it's
years.
been dead for 10 years. Dead on arrival. Definitely say that. But yeah, it was just kind of sad because, I mean, it's been the end of an era for a while, but this was just like a sign of the times changing, man. Made me feel old that they're shutting down those stores. Like the 3DS I got on launch day, and yeah, I love that system too. So excited to kind of reminisce on more of those games as we go through. Buy them so we have them forever.
Yeah, definitely.
Reminisce on the Wii U games that I didn't play. It's gonna be great.
Amiibo
Game and
Festival, I
Wario.
played that one.
Sing
I
Party.
played
Remember we played Sing Party?
Sing Party.
That's a good memory, man.
Yay.
That's a good memory.
two
playing Sing Party.
awful games. But yeah, definitely over the next couple of weeks, we'll be doing some reminiscing on the 3DS and Logan on the Wii U, and we'll definitely go through some
Maybe
games
we'll get a
that you
guest.
should
Maybe
pick
we'll
up.
bring a guest on who's a big Wii U fan.
Who was one of the 13 million that bought
One of the
Logan.
few.
that played it.
Last of a few, am I right?
Yeah, and only down from here as the support kind of dies off.
Yeah.
But that is going to do it for us on this week's episode of Ode to Games. We're here on Thursdays or Fridays, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, odetogames.com, any other podcast streaming services that you may use. Video version is up on YouTube around the same time at Ode to Games. We're on Twitter at Ode to Games as well. You can send us an email at odetogamescast@gmail.com. For Logan and Zach, I'm Kevin. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next week.